Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your girl, Brain Shanae, and I'm here to give you a book review for Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. And I am literally recording this right after I finish this book, and I'm going to tell you right now, I am in utter shambles at this time, at this moment, at this instant. Suzanne, you do not disappoint. You truly do not disappoint. And this book had me all in my feelings to the point where I cried about a lot of stuff because it's so, like, yes, this is considered, like a dystopian future or whatever, but I feel like we are living in it, especially in the US. It's not that to this degree where they pick, children for reaping and stuff like that and take them out into an arena where they slaughter each other. But at the same time, I feel like our government still does that in their own way. They have us trying to figure out how to survive on day to day, trying to work us to death and having us fend for ourselves and trying to figure out what to do, like how to afford groceries. How do we afford these insurances that we have to have, like health insurance and car insurance, any type of insurance you can think of. And so, like, with this particular book, it had me thinking about reality and how it's not far-fetched from what we're living today. And so with this particular book, we are featuring Haymitch, which I feel like Suzanne knew that we all wanted to know more about Haymitch. He was like a mystery. And because I feel like we didn't really get to know much about him. We got to see him change up a little bit. At first, when we first were introduced to Haymitch, he was very standoffish. But this book gives you an idea. It tells you why he is the way how he was during the time of he was a mentor to Katniss and whatnot. And this book really hit me hard. Like, really hard. Like, all the books that I've read regarding the Hunger Games in this series, they've all touched me emotionally. And for this one, this definitely hit me the hardest at this time. I'm like, Suzanne, do you have something else up your sleeve? And in my head, I'm like, okay, are you going to come out with a book for Finnick? Who knows? But I'm here for it and I'm ready. Like, bring it on. Like, put me out in my mid. Like, give me some more books for me to ugly cry for, because that's what I did for Sunrise on the Reaping. Now, this is during the 50th, I think it's the 50th or anniversary or whatever of the Hunger Games, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna read the synopsis anyway. So it says, when you've been set up to lose everything you love, what is there left to fight for? As the day dawns on the 50th annual Hunger Games, fear grips the districts of Panem. This year, in honor of the Quarter Quell, twice as many tributes will be taken from their homes. Back in District 12, Haymitch Abernathy is trying not to think too hard about his chances. All he cares about is making it through the day and being with the girl he loves. When Haymitch's name is called, he can feel all his dreams break. He's torn from his family and his love, shuttled to the capital with the 3 other District 12 tributes, a young friend who's nearly a sister to him, a compulsive odds maker, and the most stuck-up girl in town. As the games begin, Haymitch understands he's been set up to fail, but there's something in him that wants to fight and have that fight reverberate far beyond the deadly arena. First off, I'm gonna give you my rating. 5 out of 5 when it comes to stars. 5 out of 5 stars. Hands down, was an awesome and amazing book. Has definitely become one of my top reads of 2025. So this far, and it's breathtaking. Now, mind you, when I read this book, I was talking to people saying, like, asking me, do you have to read the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes prior to this book? And as I was reading it, I was like, no. But then again, as we get closer to the end of the book, there's some snippets of instances of what happened in the Snake and Songbirds and stuff like that in that particular book. So in my opinion, I would think you should give it a try. But If you didn't read the book, but you watched the movie, then you're good. Then you're good. It's not necessarily a requirement. Do I prefer that you read the book prior to this? Definitely. Or you can read this book and then, revisit The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So that's just my personal preference. But other than that, like, you still get a gist of a good gist of what's going on in this book. So just for you to be mindful of that. And that's just my preference and my opinion on the matter. But otherwise, I'm going to be a strong person and tell you, like, read all the books. Read all of them, because the books are always spot on. And the movies with the adaptations, they have been really good. I will say that. The movies have been really good. But the books are always better though. Always better. But this book touched my freaking soul. It pissed me off in so many occasions. Like, Haymitch didn't deserve any of this whatsoever. The pacing of the book was spot on. There was never a dull moment where I was bored or just had to put the book down. The only time I put the book down was when I was just in agony, like crying because of what was taking place. And there was a lot of instances in this book where it had me in an emotional chokehold. I'm just gonna tell you. I recommend reading this book. If you haven't read any of Suzanne Collins' books regarding the Hunger Games, pick them up. Pick them up, because you are missing out. They're really good. And it's relatable to, like, even what's happening, like I said earlier today, what's happening in the world and how people and human beings are being treated from governments and whatnot, and how they treat their citizens. Like, this, Suzanne Collins wrote this, and it published on a time where a lot of things are being questioned. And I feel like, and this book made me think about a lot of things. And like with what Haymitch was saying regarding, like, why do we let them have control over us like this when we actually have the power to make a difference, to make change, to stop them from having reapings and having these Hunger Games and quarter quells. But things take place, and it gets really rough. Now, as I continue on talking about this book, there's going to be spoilers now. So if you don't want any spoilers, you probably want to stop watching, like, right now. So just FYI. So what happens in this book, it's featuring Haymitch, and this is, like I said, the 50th annual Hunger Games, the Quarter Quell. And this is literally every time there's a reaping, that's like every time there's a reaping, it's literally on his birthday. And so when the reaping happened in District 12, it was on his birthday, and he just turned 16. And he has a younger brother named Sid, and he has a mom and everything. And he has a Lenore Dove, which is like the love of his life. And so the reaping begins, and the names are called, and his name wasn't called. It was somebody else's. But then a riot broke out, and the person that they chose as tribute from District 12, they killed him. And due to Haymitch's actions, they decided to reap him, pretty much, even though his name wasn't called. So he was reaped illegally into the Quarter Quell, into the Hunger Games. They did not initially call his name. So that was a devastating blow for him. And then he was just in these games. But there was some people that we got to meet. Once again, we got to meet Beatty. We got to meet Ryrus, and we also got to meet Mags. And Mags was Haymitch's mentor, as well as Beatty and Ryrus and stuff like that, and how they survived in their Hunger Games. And then as we are learning more about what is occurring and what is going to happen, we also get to meet Albert, which is Beatty's son. And I did not know this, and maybe maybe I need to reread these books, but I don't remember it mentioning about Beatty having a son. I could be completely wrong, so I got to revisit that and reread the books. And there's a lot of loss, a lot of threatening, Snow pretty much threatening Haymitch, considering him a rebel and whatnot. And literally, before the Hunger Games, they have the interview with what's-his-face, pretty much, they make their own little spats about certain things and, make their comments regarding why the Hunger Games should end. And there's some that just want to, pretty much show out you know, especially the careers as well, about, you know, show out about their talents and that they're going to win, you know, due to them training for this moment. There have been many moments where I cried, especially for Beatty. A lot of children have died. And Haymitch, even though he lost a lot of friends along the way, a lot of alliances and allies that he lost during the games, he still remained diligent and determined to pretty much break like the arena, pretty much how Katniss did. And so that's what Haymitch was trying to do during the time when he was in the Hunger Games, but he didn't succeed. Kim Beatty was telling him, you know, giving him pointers on how to do this and how to do that. So did Wyrus and Mags and whatnot, giving him advice. And then on top of all of that, he did become the victor. We all know that he was a victor, but there was a cost. Snow made sure that he had Haymitch in a chokehold where Haymitch wouldn't rebel or do anything. Literally, as he's coming home with all the fallen, you know, from the games, you know, all the other ones that were from District 12, and smelling their rotting flesh, he comes to visit, or not visit, he comes back home. And literally moments as he goes home, his home is in flames. And they tell him that his mom and his brother is in the house and they can't get them out. Haymitch already lost a lot of people. Then now he just lost everything. And that really just broke me. I'm like, you literally was making sure you stayed alive this entire time just to see your brother and your mom again and to take care of them. And then literally moments as you arrive home, it's gone and taken from you. And sorry, I'm getting emotional now. And so he knows that this was arson and that it wasn't an accident. He knew that Snow did this. Especially like they couldn't escape. Like apparently somebody had to hold them down or put them somewhere where they couldn't escape, right? And so the only hope he had left, the only person that he had in his life was Lenore Dove, which is his love. But even prior to this, as he won the games, he was realizing about the previous victor from District 12 called Lucy, I believe Lucy Gray, and how when he looked at during the time when she was singing, who she was referring to, and he put two and two together that she was referring to Snow, President Snow at the time. So he was adding things together. He was putting the puzzle together, but it still didn't matter because Snow manipulated him into a way where he had to live in fear. But the only person, like I said, he had left was Lenore Dove until Snow pretty much poisoned her, tricked her into eating something that killed her from the inside out. And then he lost her. And that's when he decided to push everyone away and live in isolation and isolate himself and go into drinking. And that's where we see when we first meet him and when he meets Katniss and Peeta are reaped or whatever into the games, and how he's just distant and drunk and don't want any parts of them. He already pretty much says like, you're gonna die, it's rigged, it's this. But he eventually soon realizes there's still hope especially when he's with Peeta and Katniss, and you see the spark of him that he had when he was a kid again. And just seeing, like, reading this book and just hearing and reading everything that he lost everyone and everyone he loved dear, it's crazy to me. And it makes me think about, like, even the governments in the world and how they treat people and how they separate families and stuff like that. It's so sickening. But it also reminds me that we need to fight. This is our moment. This is our time to show them that without us, you're nothing. And literally, this book couldn't come at a better time. I loved every single moment of it. I don't want to go much more into depth. I pretty much did a lot of spoilers than anything else. But this is a must read. I highly recommend that you read this book. I loved every single moment of it. I love getting to know more about Haymitch and who he was prior to him being a mentor to Katniss and Peeta. So, without that being said, just thank y'all so much for watching my book review. I know I was being very chatty, but that just lets you know how passionate I am about reading and how I truly enjoyed reading this book, even though it had me all in my feelings and my emotions everywhere. This book led me into an emotional roller coaster, but in a good way, because it woke me up into thinking like we still can do this. We can still fight for our freedoms and our rights. But that is it. That is my book review for Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to hit that that bell. That way you'll be notified when I upload more videos in the future. But once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all are staying healthy and staying safe, and I'll catch y'all next time. Bye everyone.